Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. I am your co-host, Roel Dionisio, alongside with Francois Vergez. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Roel?
I'm doing well. It's a weekend, and I'm actually working this weekend out in Northern California doing a site survey, a validation survey.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. What type of survey are you doing? What type of building?
It's multiple buildings at a university, and they're just having some Wi-Fi issues. So a little just validating the install, and then doing some troubleshooting because they are having some Wi-Fi issues.
Okay, that's nice. How is it going?
Well, my legs hurt because it was a lot of walking. I did 5 buildings on yesterday, on Saturday, so I'm a bit tired. And then I think I came close to trying to fix the issue or find the root cause of the issue, because users are saying that they're getting dropped off of Wi-Fi, right? It's a common issue people say. And so, of course, on Saturday, I have to work with what I got, and it just so happens to be that the one person that was having most of the issues was there, so I was able to do some captures. And while the Wi-Fi network does need some improvements, it could work on some design. I came across an interesting logs on the Meraki dashboard. So this is a Meraki network, and in the dashboard, occasionally I see multiple devices getting de-authenticated at the same time. So if I were to look at an event log from one AP, almost every 30 to 20 minutes, all these clients just get de-authenticated. And then if I look at a nearby AP, I will see them authenticate to that AP. Yeah. Some of them don't reconnect gracefully. And that was one of the symptoms that people were describing, where they would get dropped off, but then not reconnect. And so right away,
load balancing or something like that?
It wasn't. And that's typically what I would look at. But there was no log about client balancing, even though that was enabled. But it is something I've seen before, which is like a de-authentication attack.
Yeah. The security features.
The what?
The IPS or IDS stuff. Like
that's what I thought too. I think it might be related, but I happened to do a frame capture at the same. I happened to get lucky and get the frame capture while the de-authentication happened, and cool. At the exact same timestamp, I see 2 de-authentication frames. But what's weird is I see the de-authentication frame doesn't look like one that would be. It doesn't look like an attack. It actually looks like a regular de-authentication frame. The reason code shows that it's for a client, saying client is leaving this, the AP. But instead of it being a unicast, it's a broadcast. And so I think something might be kind of weird. So I'm going to try to recapture it today.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Is it something that's what triggers it? That would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Is it something at the AP level?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I want to confirm that it is an AP, although that I have the signal strength of the capture where I was, and I was in between 3 APs. But
okay.
I think they were going through a migration to new AP, so I don't know if maybe there's an older AP lying around somewhere sending these deauths, but hopefully I can get. I'll have a whole day today to figure that out.
Okay, wow. Okay, well, it sounds like you're gonna figure it out.
Well, hopefully. And then on top of that, there's the whole other recommendations I need to make because there's way too much co-channel interference, although it's currently not doing anything to the network, but it's just a lot. It's like way over 6 APs all on the same channel and varying different channel bandwidths.
Really? I was gonna say, is it 40 megahertz wide channel?
Yeah, it's everything. It's 20 to 80 megahertz wide channels. It's all over the place.
Okay. Well, the option is there, right? Why not use it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the auto RF feature of Meraki, and I'll be honest. I don't like Meraki's auto RF features. I don't think it's as good as some of the other vendors' auto RF or RRM. And typically, the way I fix it is I just statically assign channel and transmit power.
Yeah, idiostatic plan.
Yeah. And in that way, I don't. There's some other things that I'm trying to look at because I'm trying to see if any issues are related to a channel change. So one thing I don't know about Meraki is if you make a configuration change to an AP or like the auto RF does, will that kick users off of the network? Right. So let's say I'm on the 5 gigahertz radio and there's a auto RF channel change on the 2.4 radio. Would that kick everyone off? I don't know.
I'm not sure. That's easy. Oh, you mean the like the automated change from the RM? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like usually whenever you have a radio change, it usually does.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was looking at the release notes, and they're on a major version, but there's a minor release right after it. And one of the bug fixes is configuration change would result in the AP disassociating its connected clients.
Yeah, but they don't specify what type of changes.
No, they don't. Yeah, so I don't know if that could be like a name change. Is it auto RF change? Who knows?
Well, I think if it's anything related to the radio, you could expect to have
clients drop off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, disconnections. So usually, like the RM, they would just wait for no one to be connected, or
I don't think this happens at all because I in the event log I see
the changes.
I see 1 minute before everyone's deauthenticated, everyone drops off.
So you have to see if you can correlate that to a channel change or something.
Yeah, so I might do a manual change to see if anyone gets disconnected or if my laptop gets disconnected. And then I don't know how to trigger the auto RF change. I might have to sit there for a while to see anything happen.
Do you have... I managed to do it before, testing some equipment, and I was using a Wi-Fi metrics. Mm-hmm. And they have a tool called Air Horn, and you can generate a signal on one specific channel. So I would go close to the AP, generate a signal on the same channel, and then after a little while, it will just depending on the
That's a neat tool. Okay, so you it's almost like trying to trigger that algorithm to go, hey, there's something on this channel. I know there's other channels that are cleaner or better than this, so let me move over there. Okay.
Yeah,
I got to get something like that.
Yeah. So keep that in mind for the next time. It's handy if you want to do this, or you can just wait. But you might wait a long time.
Hopefully, I don't have to wait too long. But yeah, it's just one of those things where. So I a lot of times I'm troubleshooting Meraki networks for some reason. Like I feel that the projects I go into, Meraki is. They've created this thought that it should be easy to install, right? Easy to manage, easy to install, but for some reason the installs aren't as good. Like there's no design that goes into it. So a lot of times I'll see access points that are about 10, 15 feet away from each other, broadcasting their signals really strong. Like you would have one AP that could cover more than half of the floor, but they've got maybe 5 APs all really close to each other. And so I typically see a lot of those problems, and they're easier fixes, right? It's like, okay, let me turn off some of these APs, and then they have better roaming, for example. Like that's a typical issue.
Do they still pay for the license of the AP when you disable the radio?
Yeah. I do tell them, I go, hey, you can take this down and move it somewhere else. And so if I know they're still adding access points somewhere, I say, hey, take this one down and go move it to like your new area. Just don't buy any new APs. Like utilize the ones that I turned off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And lately I've been dealing with the new Meraki APs. So these are the MR46 and MR56 APs. They're the 802.11ax capable ones. Although I haven't been able to test the Wi-Fi 6 portion of these APs, I was more curious about the stability with having Wi-Fi 5 devices while broadcasting Wi-Fi 6. So far, I haven't seen those types of bugs where the Wi-Fi 5 and older clients don't like to connect because of the beacon. Although this network today that I'm working on has IoT type devices, so I'm gonna look into seeing if they are okay with the beacon broadcasting something that they've never seen before.
Yeah. Well, I guess you'll see. IoT doesn't necessarily mean it's very old, right?
Right. Yeah. These aren't older IoT devices, but they seem very like basic. They're not like when it comes to the Wi-Fi, they just do a scan, and what's interesting is they don't. I think it tells you which Wi-Fi networks are there, but when it shows the signal strength, I think it just picks whatever the first beacon it saw. And so when you see the SSIDs, even though there's like 3 SSIDs on a single AP, one of those SSIDs will be strong and then another one will be weak. And it's interesting because like the AP's right there in the room. And so I can tell it's picking a beacon from a different BSSID and giving you that signal strength. So the selection process kind of makes me worried about how that IoT device is picking its BSSID.
All right. Well, we'll see, I guess. Let us know.
Yeah, lots of testing on devices.
Talking about IoT, I saw this week that I knew like the Wi-Fi wasn't great on the Sonos speakers.
Sonos speakers.
Yeah, I know. But apparently it's in their wireless setup requirements, they're stating that they want 11B and 11G to be enabled on the router.
Oh, really? Because it's interesting that you say that, because I was looking at a Sonos speaker on Friday, and we have a ticket where a user cannot complete the setup of their Sonos speaker. They can connect to it with the phone, but the moment they put the SSID information, it never reconnects to the speaker, so it never completes the install. Process. So I wonder if that's exactly it, is because we don't have B rates enabled.
That might be it.
So maybe we turn on 11 megabits per second and see what happens.
I do.
Or even older.
I do have a Sonos speaker at home. I don't connect it to my office network. So the network I have it connected to, I think, has BG enabled. So I could try it at home, but anyone who had played with Sonos connecting to the Wi-Fi, they don't want to mess with it once it works.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's too troublesome.
Yeah, I actually had to reset it a couple of times. You cannot easily connect it to a different SSID. You have to pretty much reset the box, connect it to an Ethernet cable. Yeah,
it's one of those set it and forget it, right? Because it's supposed to be at home. You're not changing it to different SSIDs all the time.
Yeah, I guess most people don't change their Wi-Fi, their home Wi-Fi. but if you're like me and I like to switch it around and change stuff.
Yeah, test it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you change the password of your Wi-Fi, then you have to reset the whole thing. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
So the thing with Sonos, and I think the university that a different university, the one I work at, they've opened a ticket with Sonos, and Sonos straight up just says this isn't going to work on an enterprise network, and then they don't want to help you. So I mean, it's really meant to be for home or on a simple network, right? One flat network, and with none of those extra enterprise features disabling things.
Yeah, or you connect it to the Ethernet, because they do have an Ethernet port.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, at least on mine, it does. So you could actually connect it, wire the speaker, and it will work, I think.
Do you have a Sonos Beam, or is it one of those?
No, it's a Play something.
Okay.
Sonos Play something. Yeah.
All right, I'll keep that in mind for Monday.
Yeah. All right.
So while I'm stuck in Meraki land and all that, what have you been working on?
So I've been working on a couple of things, mostly a lot of Python lately. I've been doing a lot of Leo programming and working on my skills, a couple of stuff I guess I'll talk about. And then last week I also worked on a mini course for Wi-Fi training.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just introducing Wi-Fi automation. So I just talk about, the different pieces of Wi-Fi automation scripting, and talk about APIs and show a couple of examples on how you could automate some tasks. Just to give to spike some interest, because it's like a 2-hour course, so you don't have time to go too much in detail, but it gives a good overview of what you need to I guess at least get started on your end. So you guys should be seeing that coming soon. And then for the scripting I've been working on 2 different things. The first one is how can I take an Ekahau design document and then retrieve information out of it. Since Ekahau introduced their tags system, their personal tag system, so you can actually create now your own tag that you can attach to different APs or to an AP object. So that gives you a lot of flexibility after that if you want to do a script and retrieve data, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And something I wanted to improve is the communication I would give to the installers when they go and install the AP. I want to make sure they have all the data they need to be able to install the proper AP at the proper location, the proper way.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to have a way where they can, give me some information back of where they connected the AP, which switch port, rack number, and all of that. And so what I ended up doing is playing with the Google API and creating like a Google Sheet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw that you shared this over on the Clear to Send Slack, and you got a lot of feedback too from people.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a useful document and something that I think a lot of us need to do better on, right? Because we give the bare minimum that we give to installers is like a heat map, or not even a heat map, but just where the access points are placed, right? It could be like a screenshot of your floor plan in Ekahau. And typically that's sometimes good enough, but then it leaves room for error with the installer, because then they go, all right, well, let me just kind of put it here. There's a circle. I think I can put it in this general area. But you're going one step further and trying to eliminate some of those errors and trying to get more accuracy in the install. And that way you can get the installer to actually put in information on a Google Sheet that you've automatically generated.
Yeah. And I actually have to thank everyone on the Slack channel that gave me input. I wanted to see, what type of data would be important for the installers to know. And I wanted to make sure we don't forget anything. So I took everyone's feedbacks in. So the the sheet I'm creating from the design is pretty big to start with. So I have different columns. Let me try to pull one example out. Yeah, I have different columns. So you have like a table that will represent all of your APs. So you have the AP name, and then for each AP name, I'm trying to reference the location, and I'll go back to the location because I spent some work on that. I did some different things for that. And then I have the AP vendor, AP model, antenna vendor, installation type, setting height or insertion height, antenna tilt, AP bracket if they have like a specific bracket, service loop, MDF, IDF name, distance to IDF, MDF. And so that's all the information I'm providing for each AP.
And did you mention that like a port name or number also? I don't know if I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm guessing is that would be. I guess it could be either or, right? I would say that would be the job of the installer to tell me where they connected the AP.
Yeah.
In which port, but I guess in some environment you're gonna tell the installer where to connect the AP. So.
Yeah, it really depends on the environment because a lot of times when I'm doing installs and it's new installs, like new cabling that they're pulling, they'll just create new port numbers or port names.
Yeah. Or you'll tell them like the APs connect them to port 1 and port 10, stuff like that.
Typically I don't tell them. I just okay. Tell them to tell me because then, I don't know. It's just the way I work with installers, or it's just the way I work with specific installers, I guess. They just know exactly what I want already.
Yeah. I think different people will have different way of doing it, but I think, the document I have can be flexible. So if you want to specify the switch port, you could, because there is a section for that switch name and switch port. So you could totally define it.
Yeah. Oh, I was referring to like a patch panel and the port that the AP actually connects to in the ceiling, or because I know like some installers will run the cable and then they'll install kind of like that biscuit near the AP in which there could be 2 ports. So like they'll connect the AP there. And it's good because it's good documentation for whoever's on site, and they go, all right, I need to find this AP. Where is it connected to? I know it's on the switch port, but what about like where on the patch panel, that kind of thing. Just makes it easier for everyone.
Yeah. So, well, I have that information, but more for the installer to put in.
Yeah. And it's good because a lot of times you don't get that information from installers. And I still run into that with the occasion, the same installers I work with is they never give me information and I have to ask it. I know they do it. They just forget to give it to me. It's data like, all right, what is the MAC address of the AP and where did you put that AP, that kind of thing, which your document would solve those problems.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I talk a little bit about the behind the scene on how I did that, originally what I do is I take information from the Ekahau project. Looking into the file, I can get, the APs, and from the APs, I can get the AP name. And then I used a couple of tags to get to retrieve a couple of information, just like, brackets. So I created like a bracket tag. And then if I need a specific bracket for an AP, I will just specify after the name of the tag, the name of the bracket, so I can retrieve that information. Couple of challenges I had was the distance to the MDF IDF. So to do that, I used the cable node. So in Ekahau you can actually draw a cable node from the from the AP to the MDF IDF. The only thing is when you do that, when you draw a cable node, there's no relation between the cable node and the AP itself.
And the AP, yeah. And how do you even capture the vertical part?
Yeah, and when you draw the cable node in Ekahau will give you the length, right, as you draw it. But the length is nowhere to be found when you look into the JSON files.
Oh, really?
So I had to recalculate the length myself, and so I had to do a little bit of math for that because the cable node can be straight, but they can also have like an angle to it.
Right.
Yeah. So I had to do a little bit of math to figure out the length of the cable note. I eventually got it figured out, but I definitely had to draw a couple of shapes on my iPad to figure it out.
Yeah, they can definitely improve that portion because it gets closer to really being a complete document if you could also add in estimated cable length. Because I've had projects where they're like, well, what's the estimated cable length for all these AP installations?
Yeah. And the so in order to make the relationship between the cable note and the AP, I just make sure that I'm using the name of the AP when I give a description to the cable note.
Yeah.
So that's how I did the relationship. Yeah, and then the last piece I needed to work on was the AP location because to start with, I just had the name of the floor for the AP location, but it means I would have to provide another sort of heat map with the APs on it. And then Keith came on the Slack, and then he said it would be nice to have some sort of old school city map where you have some sort of grid, and A, B, C at the top, and then 0, 1, 2, 3 on the left.
Yeah.
So you can say AP1 is in the the box A3. Yeah. So I looked into it, and I knew you could do image manipulation with Python. And I use this library called Pillow, where you can actually modify an image and draw on top of an image.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so the first thing I did is figure out an algorithm that would draw the grid, right? And the challenge I had there was, how do I make the grid, how do I change the size of the grid based on the size of the image?
Right.
Because I could make like every box the same size, but if the image doesn't, fit within those sizes,
your grid's gonna be messed up.
Yeah, the grid will just kind of stop there or be cut. So I worked on a little script, and I actually did that on my iPad. I was because I usually do programming on my laptop, but I was doing it on a weekend, and so I just did it in the couch with my iPad, and it worked. I used this application called Pythonista.
Yeah, I have that on my. That's a really good Python app for if anyone wants to learn Python. Like you can just do it anywhere and then save those scripts, and then be able, if you save them to like your iCloud account, you'll be able to pull the same scripts on any iOS device.
And you can link it to your GitHub as well with an application called Working Copies, I think. Anyway, so I worked on that, and I was able to draw a grid that would just adapt to the size of the image.
Nice.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I wrote the A, B, C, G at the top, and the 0, 1, 2, 3 on the left. Mm-hmm. So I had my grid, and then now what I needed to do is apply it to my floor plan.
Yeah.
So that's when I went back to my laptop and to finish the job, and I was able to apply it to the background image of the floor plans. And then after that, the last step was to find the coordinates of the AP. So for each AP, I would do a loop on each AP. And for each AP, I would go and find the coordinate and then draw a red circle wherever that AP is on the new map with the grid.
Oh, so how were you able to, in your script, be able to help it identify that so it puts the circle in the right place?
So I use the coordinates of the AP. So when you do, the Ekahau actually gives you that information.
Yeah, it's in the JSON file, right?
Yeah. The only thing you have to work with is the pixel to meter ratio, or I don't know how they call it exactly, but they have this weird. It's something that's related to the scale. So when you scale your floor plan, it will apply this, meter to pixel ratio. So it would tell you, 2 pixels on the picture is equal to 5 meters or 50 centimeters.
And where does it tell you that?
It just helps you to find out exactly, where to place the, based on the coordinates. Mm-hmm. You have to do a little conversions to know exactly where to draw
Okay.
the other circle. Yeah,
And that's
on the
part
image.
of a library.
No, that's just the way Ekahau works with the scaling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can retrieve the information and apply it to your stuff. That's what I did. You just get the information, you multiply the coordinates
Yeah.
by that number. It's like a ratio, and then you can find exactly the location on the floor plan. Yeah. So that was nice. And then my issue was, okay, now that's nice. I have those images, but how do I link that back to my spreadsheet?
Yeah.
So the installers can see it. So that's when I started to look at the Google Drive API. I was like, oh, maybe what I can do is just upload it on Google Drive and then retrieve the link, like the sharing link, right? And then add this link to my spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I did. And I struggled a little bit to find the link that would work because like you have this, you have this sharing issue with Google Drive. Like if you add it to your personal Google Drive, it's not going to be shared with other people.
With everyone,
right?
You got to make it a public shared link.
Exactly, and that was a little challenge. So for the Google Sheet API, their thing is actually very neat because in my script I can directly put the email of people I want to share it with. So I actually did it with you a couple of times.
Yeah, I saw the email.
Yeah, this is the email, right? And then, so whenever I would launch a script and create a new sheet, it would just send you an email and say, oh, this, document is available for you. So what you could do is you put the email address of everyone you want to share the Google Sheet with, and it will just do it for you. On the Google Drive side of things, I guess you can probably do the same thing, but I didn't go that far. So I just uploaded it on my Google Drive, and I needed a way to share it with everyone else.
Okay.
So I still need to figure that out. But anyway, I found a link that I was able to add to my spreadsheet. And now when you click on the link in the spreadsheet, you'll see exactly. So I have, one image, one link per AP. And so for each AP, you'll be able to see, the grid and where the AP is.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Map.
Yeah, and I think you're automating a lot of the extra work that you typically would do manually, right?
Yeah, well, the grid, I've never did that, but if I can automate it and provide it, it's
yeah, because that would be a lot of manual work if you were to make a grid on the map and then draw the red circles and tie that back to something on an Excel sheet. There's a lot of back and forth there, and too much room for error too.
Yeah, and I guess we'll try to share an image in the show notes so people can see what it looks like. It's nice. So it does. One challenge I have with the Google API is that they limit you to 100 API calls every 100 seconds. So it's pretty much one call per second.
It's interesting because Google, you would think would have more calls than that, right? Be able to give that to you. But I wonder if that's just kind of like a free tier, or if there's different tiers where you have different amounts of API calls. Because tell us like how often an API call would be made with your script.
So pretty much every time you write something in one cell, that's one call. So I actually at the beginning of the script, I'm just creating I'm creating the document, I'm creating the header for the table, and all of this, like every time you put like, let's say AP name in the box in one cell, that's one API call. So just to create the headers, there's like 30 API calls.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I had to do is I pretty much had to use like a sleep function in my script. So my script pretty much stops for a given amount of time. So I don't reach that limit.
You don't exceed the limit. And then if you hit the limit, how long do you have to wait until you could make more API calls again?
Well, it's 100 calls every 100 seconds. So you have to wait.
Oh, okay.
Let's say, like a minute and a half, and then you should be good again. Yeah.
Yeah, at least it's still automated, and you just, so that way your script doesn't error out or cause an exception, you just say, all right, hold on. There's you probably have like a function for like the Google API call, right? However long it is. So that way, if it ever changes, you can modify that timer.
So what I did is I counted the number of API calls I'm making per function. And at the end of the function, I would have like a sleep for that amount of seconds. So if I have 20 API calls, I'll do a sleep for 20 seconds. So yeah, I know it's not the best, and this slows down my script quite a bit.
Yeah, I assume so, because I mean you got to wait regardless, right? So so how long by the end of it, how long did the script take to run?
So to do everything for 32 APs, I tested it for 32 APs. It took about 16 minutes.
Oh, wow. It's I think it's still faster than typing it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely faster.
Because you can run the script. Yeah. There's no mistakes there. So you run the script. You just go do something else during that time.
So what it does is, it first of all, it goes through the Ekahau project, gets all the information. That takes like less than a second. That's really fast. Then it creates the images. Creating the images takes a little bit of time. So for each AP, it would create that image with the grid and the AP location and draw the circles. And so it will do all of this. And then it uploads all of these pictures to Google Drive. Okay, and that takes a little bit of time as well. And I guess that's where I could probably save some time, because right now I'm keeping the high definition picture. But I could probably lower the resolution a little bit.
Yeah, because you're exporting everything as print, right? Because if somebody wants to print it out, it needs to be in higher resolution.
It's like I'm just using the original image of my floor plan. Yeah. And no, in this case, for my testing, I used like a satellite image. I just did, for fun, I did the Wi-Fi design of the garden of the castle. It's a famous castle in France, Château de Versailles. It's like it used to be the king castle.
Yeah.
You've been there, right?
I've been there.
Yeah. So that was my my floor plan. So I took a satellite image. I'm going to send. Okay, let me send it to you so you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like 2 years since I've been there, but I still remember it so clearly. Versailles.
Yeah, and the what was I going to say? Yeah, so the image is quite heavy. It's like a 4K image almost, you know.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty heavy. When you upload it into Google, it takes a little bit of time. So that takes it, and then after that's done, then that's when I create my spreadsheet. So it will use the sheet API, create the spreadsheet, create the headers, and then populate the information. And to populate the information, because I have to wait for each AP, it takes about, I think it takes about 10 seconds, 15 seconds per AP.
Oh, okay.
To populate the information. Yeah.
I gotta request access to your file. So
I'll send you.
So going through this process, I don't think we've ever. So we've talked about Python on the podcast and how it's being used with wireless. You've progressed through it pretty well. What is the thought process like when you're creating this, just to give people an idea? Because it's not like you already knew how to do this. I think you started learning this about last year, like mid last year, Python.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. Yeah, maybe a little bit before that, but like I started to do serious scripts that would help my job probably a year ago. I started probably. Thought process is, how can I make my life easier? And how can I integrate it in my workflow, right? So I look at the stuff I do on a regular basis and see if I can actually, optimize it, use a script to do it. And then if I can use a script to do it, can actually improve what I do. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of like this thought process I have. And then I also think about, can other people use it? So I'm trying to make it, because with the thing I just did for the Ekahau, I'm not fully ready yet. I still have one piece that I need to do. But after that, I could share it, and then people could use it if they wanted to. The only thing you have to think about when you use it is make sure that you have the specific tags defined in your Ekahau project file. So they're going to be a little bit more working on your designs to make sure that the tags are defined and all of this. But then after that, you can export all that data all at once.
How about writing the actual script? Like, what are the things that somebody needs to pick up? So there's things like functions, for example, that you ended up using. What else in the script do you think people really need to know, or that you use the most, so they can also start learning what they need to pick up?
So if you just want to do a basic script, I guess knowing about variables, knowing about a little bit of the syntax, Python syntax, knowing about functions is a good start. You can do a lot with that. And then after that, you realize that when you write a Python script, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You can also leverage a lot of the existing libraries, Python libraries that exist out there. And then that's when you start to look out to other things and how you could do different things using libraries available to you. So, for instance, in this script, let me see what
you're probably using the request module to make calls with APIs.
Well, I'm not making any. Okay,
I think I'm using the Ekahau file.
Yeah, I'm using the Google API, but I'm using another library that makes the calls for me. I think I would have to find
it makes it easier to make that call, because then you pass your credentials, right? Your Google credentials.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm using something called PyDrive to interact with the Google API, and I'm using something called GSpread to interact with the Google Sheet API, right? And then I'm using a couple of OS pathlib, zip file libraries to play with the Ekahau project file to create my images and all of that. I'm using the math library because I needed to do some math calculation for my grid, and also for the function that calculates the cable length. And then that's pretty much it. And then I'm using the Pillow library to do the image editing.
Okay. Do you have a JSON library too to deal with the JSON files for Ekahau?
Yes. Okay. JSON library. Yeah. And then after that, what I've done here is I created different functions, and I didn't clean my code yet. So it's like a whole bunch of different functions.
Yeah. Because you kind of start off trying to build it, and then you go back and clean it up, make make it shorter, make it more readable, and then you've got something that's fully functional, in which anyone can use the script. You can use a script with any kind of project, right? Because right now, when you first build it out, it's catered to the specific project you're working on, and then you can start building in the functions and variables to make it a little bit more dynamic and like which files you're going to add into it.
Yeah, and one thing when you do programming, one thing that's a good practice is to try to hard code the least amount of information as possible, right? And right now I have a couple of things that is hard coded, like the email address that I share the project with, a couple of things like that. So what I would end up doing, I think, is just having like a configuration file where you put all of your hard coded data. And then in your script, you just call that config file. Yeah. And so if you need to change anything, all you have to do is just change the config file. You don't have to change the code. It's just easier, especially when you share it with other people.
Yeah.
And what I would end up doing, because the script here is like 623 lines.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. So I would probably, create different files, different modules to organize the functions I have, and then to make it a little bit easier to to read if I share it. That's what I'll probably do. End up doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to put it out there and see if anyone would be interested in learning more, like a deep dive. Maybe we can do an episode or a coffee hour on it where we just analyze one script and a script that either you or I have used, and actually go into it and go into like how we built it, what does it do, like why you do it this way. And see how we can apply that to wireless, because you've been doing it a lot with Ekahau and with Mist. Now that Meraki's got their new version of API, I think I'm going to start working with that, because I work more with Meraki networks, and I think we can put like a library together. And I don't know, are you starting to create like your own Ekahau library now? Like I know you've got some for your Mist projects, but what about one for Ekahau? Like something that people could use.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. The thing with Ekahau is that like if they push a new release and they change a little bit the way they do things, it might break.
Yeah, it breaks it. Yeah, because I know I was using your Ekahau library to pull images right from the file, and it broke with a release.
Yeah, and I had to fix it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have the time to fix it every time, right?
Yeah, that's the chance. So it's more like you can probably arm people with a base script, and then if changes happen, you're gonna have to try to figure it out. And it's good practice too to try to figure it out. I tried to figure it out, and I think what was it? It has something to do with like a path or something. I think I forgot what they had changed.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I was looking through your file and I knew where it broke, and I was like, it's looking for something and it's not there, and then it just totally breaks on the script. But it was good practice to go through, because I look at yours to try to, because there's things that you implement that I like, especially like how long a script runs, and I think you're getting to the point where you can start to learn how to build an actual GUI to input things, like import the file through a GUI, or like when you start having other people work with you on projects, so you can just give them a front end interface. And that's why I shared that Flask class in the Slack channel.
Yeah, that would be nice. The front end part of it. I need to find motivation to go back to that, because I tried it once, and I probably spent a week on it, and like at night. All my evenings, and at the end of the week, I was like, I still
You're drained. It's something completely new, right? Like Python was already new to work with for us, and especially in the wireless world. And then when you get into like having to build a front end interface, it's like, whoa, this is you're way out of your comfort zone after that.
But that would be awesome if you can, because if you can build a front end and you can have your script, what you can do after that is you can build a Docker containers, and then you can send it to your customer. They install the Docker and they have a website to go to, and then they can run the stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's a lot of possibilities. It's just a little bit more work to,
more learning, more time.
Yeah, the challenge I had with this one is first to make the Google API call work. So you have to authenticate yourself. You have to go and retrieve the proper pieces of the proper credentials from your Google account and all of this. So that was one of the challenge I had in this little project. So that was a good practice actually, because now if I want to I actually like the having stuff on Google Drive and being able to share it with other people, customers. So I think I'll leverage that as my front end for now, I guess, for other scripts I do.
Yeah,
because it's not that hard.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the last thing I didn't do. Did you receive did you see the pictures?
Yeah, I did. So I forgot I'm on hotel Wi-Fi, so it took a while to upload to download the file.
So you have an idea now what it is, right?
Yeah, I see it. I'm looking at E3s, or the AP is out in the garden, or I think.
Yeah. So that's the last piece of thing I need to do is I need to find the name of the grid an AP is in, and then reference that inside the Google Sheet. Because right now I just have I don't have that information, so I have to go and say, okay, AP1 is located in E3 or whatever. And I think I can do that using the coordinates of the AP and the coordinates of my grids. I have to figure out how to do this, but I think it's doable.
Yeah. You should definitely, we should include this image in the show notes. And then if you haven't been to Versailles, you have to visit this castle. Yeah. It's amazing.
And the garden is my favorite, actually. You can just get lost in there.
Yeah, you can walk out into the garden. I find like a lot of people just stick in the castle, but if you can get out into the garden, it's like those like movies and shows you see from back, like, you know how they reenact like the back in these times, like they're out in the gardens. Like, this is what it looks like. It's it was like one of my favorite places that we visited in France.
It's really relaxing. And when I was a kid and we would go with my siblings, we would just wander in the garden, and then they have small houses in the garden too. Yeah. And so it looks like small castles. So we would just picture we were living there. And like, which room do you take?
You're saying small houses, but these things are pretty big.
Yeah. And they were like used for the servants back in the days. So it's pretty amazing. Like, this place is, I would say, like, if you go to Paris, I would say that's one thing with the Eiffel Tower that you have to visit.
You cannot miss Versailles. And there's so much history there that you're walking the same halls as like kings that have walked through there. And then like the just seeing how these buildings are kept, like the upkeep on these buildings, like they look like nothing has changed. Like it's just been standing there for so long. Yeah. Even the front entrance is like amazing. Like the gates with the like gold gate and all that, and the line though is ridiculous. So if you ever go, you got to go early in the morning.
Yes, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's a whole day event. It's 100% worth it.
So look at that. Without even knowing it, we're advertising my country.
We're advertising to go to France. I'm waiting until everything calms down with COVID, and then I'm booking my trip to Paris. I'm going back. The moment they let us in, though, like, it's good. They're probably not allowing U.S. people for good reason. I'm walking around. Last night I was walking around out here, and no one is wearing a mask. Like, it's as if there's like nothing going on over here. I was like the only one wearing it. Like,
what?
I should have gotten out anyways, but I wanted to see like a bridge and all that. All right, what else are you working on this week, Francois? Are you working on more scripting?
Well, one other thing that I worked on that was pretty exciting to me is I created my first Python library. So,
all right.
Yeah, you know how when you install library, you do like pip install and then the name of the library?
Yeah.
So I was able to actually create my own and do a pip install of my own. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, what is it called?
So it's for Mist. So I called it Semfio Mist. And there's actually a website. It's called pyp.org. So pypi.org. And it's all the Python libraries that exist, and you can do a search on the names. So if you search Semfio-Mist, you'll be able to see my library.
So is a library called Semfio-Mist, or is it one word?
It's in one word. Like, it's
okay.
So I originally wanted to call it PyMist.
Yeah.
But it's taken.
Oh, so
it was taken. So
it's probably taken by the Mist guys.
Not even. It's like a random person that hasn't updated in like 3 years. So okay. I was like, okay. But if you do Semfio -Mist in one word, then you'll be able to see it. Yeah, and then so what I've done is I've been working on a few functions to help me do the interaction with the Mist APIs, and so I pretty much took some time to package it and then create that library and I went through the process of what do you need to create that library. So I just went on YouTube and watched people. Yeah. I also used the website to help me figure out how to do that, and it worked well.
All right, I see your library here. So it's Synfio-Mist. I'll install it and give it a shot.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have to ask me how to use it, because I didn't document how to use it. So
I already have it installed, all done.
Yeah, so one of the cool things I have in my library is I handle all the API calls all at once. So I'm using something called, maybe we should keep that for another show because we're already up to the hour. I'm using something called the object-oriented programming.
Yes.
Yeah. So what that means is you creating objects and under, you're creating what they call a class, and then under a class you can have functions and you can have variables. So that allows me to have like big classes and in Mist I use it like one for the API, one for the APs, one for the size, one for the organization, and each class will have a different set of functions underneath. So under the site I have like an option that does like create a site or delete a site or update a site or whatever, and under the API class that's where I coded all the get, put, post kind of functions underneath it, and also created like a token management system where whenever you run the code, it will just create a token just for that script, and then it will delete that token at the end of the script.
Yeah, I think that's very useful. So you're not reusing, especially for these. I can see why you'd want to do that.
Yeah, and then I have like some sort of master token that I keep into my variable in my OS. Mm-hmm. So you can, I did like an export and then I saved that master token on my system. So now whenever I run my script, it will just create a temporary token just for that script and then remove it. And then also what I'm doing for the API is I'm doing a session. So I'm opening a session. So all the APIs calls I made under the same connection. Mm-hmm. And so it speeds up the process quite a bit. And then the script is done, you just close the session.
Nice. Yeah. That's more efficient.
So that's more efficient. So that's all of these things, I have them in the library. So when I need to do a little project, I can just use that. I have like an API.
You don't have to rebuild it.
I don't have to rebuild it. Yes. So that's what I've been working on. Now what I need to do is I need to document it so people can actually know what it does. And I have
the
to
real
see
hard part.
The real hard part. And you talked about the Meraki coming out with their dashboard API stuff, where it's kind of like the same thing. It's a library to ease the interaction with the Meraki API. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing Mist will come up with something similar as well in the near future. So when they do, my library will pretty much be obsolete, I think.
Well, I mean, you can have your own library. I've seen other people have their own Meraki libraries, and this version is just a newer version of their API. And so I wanted to dive into it and see if there were improvements on the wireless side, because there were things I couldn't get on their version 0 API, like details, like AP radio details, or like some stuff that I was really looking for, but I couldn't get it on using the API. So I wanted to see if that's available. But I guess we can talk about that with like our coffee hour. And if anyone has any more interest in this, like, do you guys think we should talk more about how we could utilize scripting with wireless? And we're not going to limit it to just Mist. I know Mist has got like the best library so far, the best API flexibility, but we'll try to tie it into other technologies like Meraki and some of the controllers that we work on. But it's kind of a work in progress, because Francois's been working on this pretty heavily. I've had to put a pause on it because of my other projects that are preventing me from even like, I don't have time to dive into everything, but hopefully I'll get back into it soon. And then we could talk more about this, maybe specific use cases, and analyze something, how we use the script to solve a problem.
Yeah. And I've used the netconf with the to interact with Cisco controllers as well. And I'm liking APIs way more now. even
Yeah,
more than
it's
before.
it's a lot easier than
It's a lot
especially
easier.
when you rebuild when you build something and you can reuse it for other things. Like you don't have to go and issue all these different commands, and you can just use a script to do that for you and then format it nicely in the way you want it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
All right.
I mean, there's still a lot to talk about. If you guys want to learn more about some of the things that Francois was talking about, it's going to be under episode 233. So cleartosend.net/233. And some things to look at also is we had on our previous episode, we talk about 5G with Andrew Vanage from Solana.
Yeah.
I have to remember it's like Barcelona, Solana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'm also still working on the CWNA training. So if you go to cwnatraining.com, we're generating an interest list and trying to figure out like what you'd like to see in another course, and we're going to try to make it more interactive with other students and also with us. So we've got a lot going on, and we're still trying to create more new episodes, and we'll dive back into more of the technical stuff. I think the last couple episodes we've had transitioning to Industry 4.0. We've had open roaming and introduction to BPA 3. So we still like to know what episodes you want to hear from us. We could dive into some certification topics as well, but we try to vary it across different episodes, so that way it's not always like a hardcore technical topic and then your brain hurts after that. We try to interview people, get some perspectives from others, and see how people are solving problems using Wi-Fi technology. So that's our episode. Thank you, Francois, for sharing so much of the scripting that you're creating. I find it very interesting from where you've been, like how you started and where you are now. Like it's such a drastic change in a short amount of time, like less than a year. And so
well, I have to say that I did it at university, so I'm not starting from scratch really. I knew a lot of the concept and the best practices and all of that, so that's helping me.
But you applied it to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I never thought I would apply those skills to anything.
Because I can say the same. I took some programming classes in school, but it's still hard for me.
Well, we did a lot. They pushed us a lot.
Oh, that's good.
So it's useful now.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode. Again, head over to cleartosend.net/233 for the show notes, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
Bye.